Longest currently serving state senator Robert Cowles announcing today he will not be seeking re-election. For almost 4 decades, Cowles has served in the Wisconsin state legislature. Cowles is currently serving as the chair of the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Energy, as well as co-chair of the Joint Legislative Audit Committee. He's recognized for his efforts to balance environmental protection with business needs and had guided policy to achieve that balance. In a statement, Cowles writes, quote, "I've enjoyed the opportunity I've had to meet people in the state capitol and throughout Wisconsin who share my love for the state we call home. From the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everyone who wakes up every day working to make our great state an even better place," end quote.